Hey guys, Lucas Garvey here. This is part 4 of my Dissecting Visual Aesthetics series. I'd recommend watching part 1, in which I talk about space, before watching this. Today, we're talking about movement. Movement is interesting because of all the arts, it is the most prevalent in film. There are two types of movement: actual movement and relative movement. Actual movement is when something actually moves. Whether it's someone walking or a bird flying, the subject is actually moving through space. Relative movement is when an object is given movement through the movement of the film's perspective. For example, if a camera crabs across a room of stationary people, they'll all be given the sense of movement. The opposite is also true. If you have a moving object and the camera follows it, then it will remove the sense of movement from the object. So when a director is planning the movement of the film, they have to plan out the movement of the subjects and the movement of the camera relative to those subjects. But there's also one more thing they must consider, that being the movement of the audience's point of attention as they watch the screen. Let's break down all three. The movement of the object is pretty straightforward. I went pretty in depth with this in my line and shape video, so I'll keep it brief here. Pretty much, you have the direction of the object, the quality of the object's movement, the scale of the movement, and the speed of the movement. The direction is where the object is heading. Is it a horizontal movement or a diagonal one? The quality is the curvature of the movement. Does the subject make a beeline to its destination, or does it turn and move in circles across the screen? The scale is how much it moves. Does it barely move an inch, or does it move across the entire screen? The speed is how fast the object moves. Does it crawl or sprint? With camera movement, the audience doesn't see the camera move, but they see the effects of the camera movement relative to all the subjects within the frame. Camera movement can be broken down the same way. Direction is the camera dialing in or crabbing away. Quality is the smoothness of the movement. Is the camera on a gimbal or is it handheld? Scale is the length of the camera's travel. Speed is how fast the camera moves to its position. The last thing the director must consider is how the point of attention moves across the screen. This is arguably the most important and critical role the director plays in the process of making a film. Just as a good comic is able to lead your eye across the page in the most pleasant and enjoyable way, or unpleasant and intense depending on the story, films do the same thing, but instead of jumping from one panel to another, the audience is always transfixed on the same panel. It's the objects within the panel that change. The audience's attention can change within a single shot or between shots. While this sounds the most abstract, it's actually constructed by the same elements as camera movement and object movement, except for speed. Direction is where the audience's attention is shifted to. The quality is how it shifts there. Is the attention pointed in a straight path, or does it move in circles across the screen? Then there's the scale, arguably the attribute leading to the most intensity. How far do the viewers have to move their attention? Do their eyes dart back and forth between two characters that are right next to one another, or two characters that are on the opposite side of the screen? Intense movement of attention across the screen can actually lead to fatigue, particularly on larger screens, and even confusion if it's intense enough. So if you notice your eyes darting across the screen during a particular scene, take note that this is another tool the director is using to create impact. So with all the technical and granular information discussed, how does the director use all of this? Well, it's very similar to every other visual element. It's all about contrast and affinity. How does the subject move within the frame during the current scene compared to how the subject moved in previous scenes? Maybe they're moving faster in the scene. Maybe they were moving a lot previously but aren't currently. Also, how does the subject move relative to other objects in the frame? Maybe you have two characters, with one being stationary and the other one pacing back and forth. Maybe you have two characters walking next to one another, and one is walking in a straight line while the other one is zigzagging, walking in circles around the other character. All these setups tell their own micro story. With the audience's attention, it gets really interesting. If you're cutting back and forth between two characters, how much is the context changed when they are both taking up the same screen space, as opposed to being seen on completely opposite sides of the screen? I think what will really demonstrate this is charting of storyboards, only showing the audience's movement of attention.
It's all right. This is a Harriet's well. The Harriets had a dirty people.
That's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like. Next week, I'll be discussing rhythm, so if that sounds interesting to you, make sure to click subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.